Good morning, good evening, good everything in between, wherever you are, and welcome to the podcast, week number 9. I'm your host, Jim Bobernicki, and I'm joined today by Mr. Michael Beasley. How you doing, Michael?
I'm good, but I'm here and you're there. Where's the other guy?
He's off doing stuff that isn't baseball. I think he's at Medieval Times, he said, which is something I'm not familiar with as someone from Quebec. It's the thing where you watch like knights fight and stuff like that, right? I
I bet he
literally don't
dressed up as
know.
a wizard.
Oh, that's sick though.
I bet
That's
he's all
pretty good.
dressed up as a knight. That sounds fun. Let's do that actually.
Yeah, that does sound like a good time.
Field trip.
I've always wanted to check out that medieval times thing, but yeah, we just don't have it here where I live. But if I guess if Gabe's going to it can't be too far from me, at least a couple hours. But maybe it'd be a fun trip. Do they have any like down near Philly?
There was one here years ago before I was born. My parents went to it with my older brother and they have a memory of watching a jousting match while eating mutton. Apparently like cartoon sized mutton where it's like
Right.
that
Yeah.
big slab on like the little bone.
Yeah. That's the thing. You just
Yeah,
eat like meat with your hands and watch people fight. That sounds like a really good time,
yeah.
actually.
I think it's closed here, but I guess they're still around
Yeah, I guess
somewhere.
so. So, week 9 of the podcast, and we are making our way through the Japanese baseball season, and we are coming up to the All Star break, and the All Star game voting is pretty much in. I don't exactly know how it works. I know that most of the fan voting is done now, and now there's player voting, if I understand right. Is that the deal?
Yeah, the fans do their votes, and I'm personally against fan voting in all All-Star forms because it just turns into a big market versus small market thing.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do I do like the player vote. I believe player votes and coaches vote are the are something that more teams or more leagues should do,
Yeah, I
or at
think
least
they
make it
should
more
get
heavy.
more weight. I think you have to let the fans vote because it is kind of for the fans, but I think there should be like a weighted element. Like every player vote should count for like I don't know, like 100 fan votes or something like that, right?
Some way to do it is make put more emphasis on the peers.
And sort of speaking of the big market, small market thing, what's interesting, I don't want to talk too much about it, but you look at the Pacific League and you look at the Central League teams. Pacific League team, a beautiful tapestry of players from all over the league. Central League, it is the Hanshin Tigers, just straight up. Just we are going to be playing the Pacific League against the Hanshin Tigers with I think one Hiroshima Carp in there. So that's pretty funny. But we're the better league with the better players and the more diverse cast. So there you go. It just goes to prove how much better we are than them, I think.
As I said on the community tab, wow, that's a lot of kitty cats.
And so I was just looking over the results and kind of looking for like snubs or like people I was surprised by. Of course, I think Levan Moinello should be in over Yamazaki, but that's fine. I get why he's not the holding pitcher. Though I was a bit surprised Chusei Minami didn't make the starting. At first, I was thinking I was surprised he didn't make the starting lineup in the outfield, but then you look at who's ahead of him: Sugimoto, Matsumoto, and Kondo. Yeah, like I get it, but I don't know. I thought Yusei Minami was really having a breakout year, and I was hoping he would make the All
I
Star
think
game.
I think you have to measure up any person who wasn't added to the All-Star game. I think you have to just look at their peers and then look at are they performing well or are they in a small market or are they the only thing going for that team? Not that he's the only thing going for the fighters, of course. They're surging, trying to get back to A class, but that's my opinion on snubs and all that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get what you mean, and I am also a little surprised Kenta Imamiya didn't get in ahead of Sosuke Genda because Genda spent a lot of the season injured, and Imamiya is having a bit of a breakout year. We saw him have that huge home run in the game we did this past weekend. By the way, if you're listening to this and you haven't checked it out, please do check out the Midnight Matinee. It was a lot of fun. I was very happy to be there. So yeah, I was a bit surprised that Genda's ahead of Imamiya, but that's it. Kind of those are my only two things. But Hawk Homer takes by me.
Even though there's a lot of Hawks, I feel that specifically voting was more they voted for the players that should have been there.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's
Like
not just the
no one's a
market
huge
overwhelming.
surprise. Yeah,
I'm not saying
exactly.
that's how it is for the other team, but as we know, the Tigers are a massive market, the second probably market, and the Hawks probably being third. I don't know for certain, but I feel like the Pacific League fans voted, the way they actually were supposed to vote.
Yeah, more or less. Like I said, like my gripes are pretty minor. It's nothing sort of totally catastrophically out of bounds, you might say. And yeah, if you look at the Central League voting, like all the Tigers players got so many more votes than their competitors. So yeah, there's a lot more heavy-handed like that. And so without Gabe here, he did give us some notes, so we will be telling you Gabe's opinions and thoughts throughout the week, including we will be contributing to the Around the Horn for his teams. And he did bring up that we had another trade this week, another back-to-back trade this week. was very unexpected. And the scale of the trade is to be expected. It's fine tuning around the edges. Kenta Onuma heads to the Marines from the Giants in exchange for outfielder Shingo Ishikawa. The 30-year-old started his career in 2013 with the Fighters and won a Japan series with them in 2016 before moving over to Tokyo. In 10 seasons, he's bat 225, 279, and 349 on his slash. And my guess Gabe's guess, I should say, is he's being brought to the Marines to add depth to the outfield with all the injuries that they've been having throughout the season. So yeah, that does sound like a very sensible trade. And what else do we have here from Gabe's notes? He had some milestones. Could you cover that real quick?
So he wished a congratulations to Eagles infielder Daichi Suzuki, who played his 1500th NPB game July 2nd, 204th player in NPB history to reach that mark. He used to play for the Marines from the beginning of his career up until the end of the 2019 season, where he signed a deal with the Rockton Eagles. And interestingly enough, I saw online, I heard from people that were there, Daichi Suzuki actually got booed at that game when they announced that milestone. It was at Marine Stadium. And to my understanding, I actually remember it quite well. When you are a free agent in NPB, it's more common to stay with your team your whole career than it is to, go from to another team, then to another team. And, the way it works in the US, I think they really expected him to sign back with Lotte when he was going to free agency. Then he went to Rockton. I guess people thought he was ring chasing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, Rockton wasn't a different place back then.
I was gonna say there might be something wrong with that if you're going to Rockton to do it, but sure.
They were in a much better place going into the 2020 season. So that's one of we like to say that Japanese fans don't boo. I can say that they do. I've been there. I've been at a game where I didn't even know what was happening because I didn't know the two teams, and they were both teams were booing. So I don't know what was going on there, but I guess even after all these years, they just weren't happy with him still. Not really sure what to say about that or why they're letting it hurt them that much all these years later.
That is a bit weird. And also another little milestone to shout out for Yuki Yanagita hit his 250th home run last week. I watched that game live, and it was awesome to see. Considering, he is a bit of an older player, obviously, but I hope he can stick around long enough to get to 300 home runs. That would be really awesome to see. But he's having a great season, great player, great milestone, and I hope he keeps it up.
How old is he again?
He's 34 now.
34, and he has that extension on top of an extension.
Yeah, I think he could probably still be like a very valuable contributor to the team until like 36,
in
37.
NPB and KBO. They tend to go into their 40s, a decent amount into their 40s. Like I remember we were talking about Tsuyoshi Wada on the live broadcast and how he was in his 40s, and that's not uncommon. I mean, a Hawks manager, Kimiyasu Kudo, pitched almost till he was 50, the old Jamie Moyer approach.
Wow.
So I could see him playing until probably 40, 41, maybe a bit beyond. It's possible.
Oh, yeah. And come to think of it, even Ichiro played into his 40s too, and he was playing in America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so here's hopefully maybe Yuki Yanagita is going to play into his 50s and get 500 home runs. That would be fantastic.
Book it, Booker man.
And did you have anything you want to get to before the ad break?
Here's an ad.
Hey, my name's Shane, and I swear, I'm a real consumer, just like you. So I just replaced all my expensive shorts with...
What are you doing in here? I thought I threw you out already.
I gotta go, bye.
How do they keep getting in here? That's the third advertiser I've thrown out today. When you subscribe to Pacific League TV, there's no ads. Nothing in between innings, nothing for a pitching change. You get to see all the action on the field. And of course, you also get full archives going back to 2011. All the baseball you could ever want to watch, and nobody trying to convince you to buy some clothing brand you've never heard of. 1450 yen per month. That's like $10 in today's exchange rate. And you get all that and no ads. Okay, but for real, who's letting these guys in here? Jim? Gabe? Is it any of you? Well, it's not me.
All right, so we're back. Ish, I guess. We don't really go anywhere. You people probably know that. We have smart fans. I think everyone knows we don't actually leave for the ad breaks. So we're going to be doing today's Around the Horn, and as usual, we're going to go through the league top to bottom and take an in-depth look at all the teams. Without Gabe here today, though, we are going to be splitting up his team. So take it away, Mike, with the league-leading Oryx Buffaloes.
All right, so Oryx is 4-1 in their last 5. That's odd. I thought we usually did in their last 10 here, but not my notes. 4-1 their last 5, missing a sweep of the Fighters, but spoiling the Eagles' special Tokyo Dome game with a 9-7 win. Tomoya Mori's injured with a left thigh muscle. I did see that. That was bad. Hopefully he comes. There's no timetable for his return, and that's not good. But hopefully he's fine. He comes back. Yutaro Sugimoto or Tiyokata. Tiyokata actually got called up again, so hopefully he can compile more NPB level stats. I think he's down on the farm recently. They'll probably be DHing with Mori gone. Kenya Wakatsuki is now doing the catching full time with Mori gone. Mori was leading the PL league in slugging, and was 4th in WRC plus heading in today's game. So they're gonna notice him. They're gonna have to step it up around him. Yuma Tongu, he cranked 2 homers today off Masaru Tanaka at Tokyo Dome and led the PL in average, on base, OPS, WRC plus. I don't know what any of those mean. Speaking of Tiyokata, the Buffalo Slugger is back on the top club. He spent the first part of the season on the farm getting into shape and has 3 RBIs in his first 3 games. Pitching continues to be a strength for Oryx, with 3 starters notching 6 wins or more: Hiroi Miyagi, Shunpei Yamashita, and of course Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto's FIP is 1.61, a full 1.2 runs better than the Hawks' now Higashihama. So he's pitching even better than his 1.89 ERA indicates. Is that possible? 15 strikeouts behind Roki Sasaki for that 3rd Triple Crown. It is very tough reading notes written by somebody else.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's. I feel like this whole episode's going to be kind of outtakes, but it's all right. We're having fun. And so that brings us over to the second place team, my Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, and they had a fantastic week, going 5-1 with a clean sweep over the Lions, which is not without drama. If you watch those games, you got to see some good baseball. Well, except maybe the baseball for midnight matinee, not baseball for breakfast. The midnight matinee we did where they kind of laid into the Lions a little bit, but all the other games in the series were super close, and it was a lot of fun to watch. One blemish, however, came when they got absolutely rocked by the Fighters this morning. I woke up, turned on the game, they were already down 5-0 in the second inning, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm all right. I'm gonna go watch the Lions Marines game, which also ended up being the totally opposite kind of affair, with going into extra innings without any runners scoring. But anyway, I digress. Once again, I'd like to give a big old shout out to Yuki Nagita for getting his 250th home run. And I think, I watch these Hawks play, and there's not really, like, if I had to point to a weakness, the bullpen can falter at times, but then they've also got that devastating 1-2 punch on the back end with Moinello and Osuna. And the batting, I mean, there's almost no weak link. Even their lower end batters are some of the better would be better batters on other teams. So they've just got so much depth, so much talent. I really do think that they're going to go all the way this season, but I say that every week. And so that slides us over to the other bird team. I don't know what transition that was. Other than the 3rd place team, the Chiba Lotte Marines. Take it away, Mike.
Tweet, my dudes. Lotte is in 3rd place, 3.5 games back first. At this point, they're just trying to stay in A class, it seems. A class being the term for the top 3 in the league, the ones that go to the playoffs at the end of the season. 4-6 in their last 10. And one factor I'd like to include for that struggling thing slope they've been on a bit is Shogo Nakamura, who had a 208 average in June and an on base of 326 and an OPS of only 690. That's not a good June.
Yeah, no, that's terrible.
And he's batting 182 with runners on.
Oof.
And he's had a lot of chances. He's 14 for 89 with runners on. And it's just not looking amazing. Actually, excuse me, 182 is his average currently in July. He's batting 215 with runners on, which is slightly better.
Let's see. Hey, he's coming up.
And he's got 16 RBIs, 3 of which are sac flies. So, oof. I mean, I'll take a sac fly with less than 2 outs and base loaded or somebody on third, but I'd like to see more runs. June was also rough for Koki Yamaguchi. Batted 222 in June with a 675 OPS, but overall he's batting 372 with runners on. 16 for 59 with 30 RBI, 10 Ks, 11 walks, and 5 sac flies.
Yeah, I was going to say, Yamaguchi has this weird tendency I had noticed where he will not do well most of the game, but he's clutch sometimes. Like, he really comes through when the team needs him.
Yeah, 30 RBI. I mean, even if you're batting, if you're having a down month, but as long as you're destroying with runners on, I mean, it works.
Yeah, exactly.
And to end on a positive note, Polanco is not performing exceptionally. However, he had a really good June. Had a 348 average, 415 on base, 937 OPS. So he was doing really well in June. Sasaki starts tomorrow at 5 a.m. against the Lions. Lions bullpen ace turn starter Kamatara takes them out against Sasaki. Tune in at 5 in the morning, catch the replay on PLTV, watch on Dingo, do whatever you have to do.
Do whatever you have to do to catch Sasaki, which is what I'm doing tomorrow. I already had that penciled in. I'm waking up nice and early to watch that game. Also, a little note about Polanco. I think he knocked in the winning RBI in the extra innings game today. So, again, as long as you're doing it when it matters, right?
Another half of the season to go, so hopefully you can turn that around.
There we go. And so that brings us over to the Nippon Ham fighters, who I'll be covering 2 and 3 over this week, with the last 2 wins coming over their last 2 games, including that aforementioned beatdown they laid into the Hawks earlier today. I had the lids finally open at Escon Field in Hokkaido, and the fresh air has paced the team to a 6-3 win over the Buffaloes when they had that game. Cody Ponce is back on the mound. The foreign right-hander threw a no-hitter last season, and so his return to the field from a partially torn quadricep tendon would add another arm to the powerful rotation of the fighters. If you tune into the fighters game at home on the 13th, you'll notice they're wearing a unique uniform. These are special uniforms for their 20th anniversary in Hokkaido, having moved to Sapporo in 2004. This look will combine the elements of their current design and their uniforms from both the Darvish and Otani eras. Oh, I did see that earlier. They looked really good. I'm quite into that uniform. Fans from last season may also remember Daiki Asama's highlight reel appearance from his last 2 seasons. He's back from injury on top of the club, at the top club, I should say, tagging a triple off of Yoshinobu Yamamoto for his first hit of the season on June 30th. Shusei Minami continues to extend his PL home run lead with his 15th home run earlier today. 110-mile-per-hour exit velocity going 440 feet. The man does not hit cheapies. He hits those balls hard, and he's top 5 in slugging, RBI, and WRC heading into today's games. Because we've only got 2 people, so we can't really hand these all off. That brings me over to the Cebu Lions. Now, I don't know how to explain this. It was 1-4 a week, but it didn't feel that bad. Like, I have this weird optimism I get when I watch the Lions, where they got swept by the Hawks, but they kept those games closer than they maybe should have, considering how much better the Hawks are than them. And so I think there's almost a moral victory to have there. There's something about the Lions, I feel, where they have talent. It's just that you'll have like one player have a good game and everyone else plays badly. And then the next game, someone else does that while everyone else is off. And if the Lions could just gel, just figure out how to all be on the same page at the same time, there's something there. They're not the worst baseball team I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think they have some hope, but obviously near the bottom of the league, and it's a long way to climb up. I think the difference between the Fighters and the Lions is far greater than the difference between the Marines and the Fighters. You know what I mean? Like the gap, the Fighters are really closing in on that A class we talk about, while the Lions are pretty gosh darn far away. I don't mind saying. And so that brings us over to the bottom team in the league, another bird team. When I said that about the Marines, I forgot about this team. And so, Mike, take it away with the league bottom, Rakuten Golden Eagles.
On the bright side, Rakuten is out of the very bottom of the basement. They are now in 5th place.
Cebu's in ninth place. Wait a minute. Okay, I thought that, which is why I wrote Cebu was at the bottom, but then I saw Rakuten. Am I cracked? 1 second. Whoops. Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay.
Now you owe me all of your money.
Yep, I guess so. So,
anyway, they are 3-7 in their last 10. Still looking like they'll end the season in B class, in dire need of a rebuild, but they have some aging veterans on payroll for the next few years. Next year they could all bounce back and be in first. Who knows? But maybe they'll get lucky in the draft, and their draft picks will go uncontested. Jim, you know how the draft works in MPB, right?
Yes, yeah, I love the draft. I think it's the coolest draft in all of sports.
And for those who don't know or just haven't seen one, everyone makes their first pick at the same time. If your pick is uncontested, you get your pick. If it's contested, you literally draw straws. Well, it's a lot of paper envelopes. And that's how former Lotte manager Tadahito Uguchi got the nickname God Hand, because I think 3 drafts in a row he got who he wanted. And I think including the lottery for Roki Sasaki. So they milked that t-shirt for a while. It was him holding up the envelope, and it said like God Hand on the back.
Oh man, I want one of those. That's sick.
Limited edition. There was only I think they only did like 400 of them. So
oh well.
Masahiro Tanaka pitched the worst NPB game of his career a few days ago. 9 runs, 11 hits, and 4 innings. Rakuten did try their best to battle back and save him from the loss, but they ended 7-9. Really running out of time, and we're kind of running out of Rakuten news every week because it just seems like we're on a merry-go-round.
Yeah, that's how I feel reporting the Lions sometimes. But that's why, I'm trying to have this positive outlook. It's funny now that I'm looking at the standings and like I felt like I was having some profound analysis when I said the Fighters are closer to the Marines than they are the Eagles. It's like, yeah, they're one game behind the Marines and they're 10 games, like 6 games ahead of the Eagles. It's not the same thing at all.
And then I'll just start highlighting some individual performances because there's some good things going on at Rakuten. It's just like same thing with Seibu. It's just one guy can go 4 for 6, and everyone else goes 0 for 7. Like
Yeah.
in the Tanaka game, as I'm going to call it, Asamara went 3 for 5 with 5 RBI, including a grand slam in the bottom of the fourth. July 2nd, Asamara had a solo shot, went 3 for 5. In that same game, it's Ikutsuki Murabayashi went 4 for 6 with 5 RBI. Rakuten plays tomorrow. Keep an eye out, catch the replay, watch highlights, do whatever you need to do.
And there we go. And now I know some of you may have been missing Gabe, especially because we totally butchered his segments. So we're going to bring you a special How to Speak Pacific League from Gabe's own mouth, where he will take care of his own words very properly. Take a listen.
How to Speak Pacific League. Lesson 4. The Hits. The Pacific League may sport some of the best defensive players in the game, and one human highlight reel, but they can't catch every batted ball. A hit is referred to as an anda, combining kanji for safe and hit. If it's an extra base hit, you'll hear niruida or sanruida, 2-base hit or 3-base hit, respectively. And a hit that scores a run is called a taimuri, as in a timely hit. It may also be helpful to know terms for hits into the gap, which combine the kanji for the two outfielders that the hit is splitting, and kan for space, uchu-kan for the right center gap, sachu-kan for the left center gap. And finally, getting 3 or more hits in a game is called a modasho, combining the kanji for ferocious, hit, and award.
And we're back. And so let's take a look at how our familiar faces are doing stateside. Mike, what do you have on the update today?
PL alumni overseas, Masataka Yoshida is not an all-star. He's playing like one, he hits like one, but the outfield and DH spots are stacked. Right. So it's really, I mean, he could be a reserve if a bunch of people cancel, I guess, but I'm not going to say he deserves to over everybody else, but he was playing like one. If he was elected to the All-Star game, nobody would have batted an eye.
Right.
After a bad outing on July 1st against the Red Sox, Yusei Kikuchi's ERA has gone up to 4.08. With the Toronto Blue Jays, I predict he'll end the season around 3.5, 3.7 ERA. I find it funny, after a couple of years of struggling, suddenly Yusei Kikuchi now has a beard, like he's a grizzled veteran of some sort. It's like Metal Gear. Punish Kikuchi or something like that. Give him the eye patch.
Punish Kikuchi, a man betrayed by his club.
Could be. It's like how Hirokazu Sawamura suddenly now has a beard and sideburns because Lotte let him grow it out. That's when he came back from the Red Sox, he went right back to Lotte. He wasn't shaving that. Hugh Darvis is struggling, has an almost 5 ERA, currently 4.84. FIP not doing much better at 3.88. Do people still use FIP?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Did they invent something else?
No,
do they have like FIP plus or FIP minus now?
Oh god, yeah, probably actually.
For Ohtani, it's Ohtani. What I have to say, he's an all-star again this year. I mean, technically, he's like a 6-time all-star because pitcher NDH.
6-time all-star over 3 seasons. You gotta love it.
Yep, Tungsten Armo Doyle, the best character arc. And someone we haven't covered before, Nick Martinez, former Fukuoka SoftBank Hawk.
Ooh.
Getting bagged around 3.94 ERA, 3 wins, 3 losses on the same team as Yu Darvish, the San Diego Padres. They're just having a rough time this year.
Alrighty. And so that brings us over to our question of the day, which comes from Cy Hart, who asked it during our midnight matinee. And if ever you want to ask us questions, we have the community post, but also feel free to ask us something in the live games, and we'll jot it down and maybe take note of it. And I really like this question. Cy asks, I wonder if the podcast has ever spoken on their favorite Pacific League summer uniforms in recent memory. Now, this is one of my favorite things when I was getting into Japanese baseball, to see these really cool alternate uniforms that every team had. I will read Gabe's notes first, just to be fair to him, and then I'll go into mine. So Gabe said, the Marines are always a favorite for me, even if they're black into the summertime. This year's pink blue Miami Vice fit is tight. The Eagles' blue look was from 2019, was very nice, and for a team that usually has completely different designs, the Lions' 2021 design was busy, but the rainbow maned lion on the logo was a cool, neat idea. As a Canadian, the blue final look from 2016 was a ripper, eh? Thanks. Thank you for making me say that, Gabe. And so that will bring us over to mine. I just took a quick look at what we had this year on because this is like kind of like my first year being really into MPB. So I was just assessing this year's offerings. The Buffalo's deep green uniforms are incredible. I wish that was the Buffalo's normal uniform. The Hawks black on white that we saw during the midnight matinee is nice. They also have these teal ones coming up for at home that I think look really cool too. Just looking at the photos, I didn't love the Lions silver with the neon, but then when I was watching it in the game, it grew on me. It actually looked really sleek. It was cool. And the blue ones they have planned are a bit too Bay Stars for me, but I get that it's more of a historical thing. It looks like their older team. It's like, I can go along with that. The Eagles, kind of like Gabe mentioned, always excellent. The green ones are really, really clean. And I just don't know why a team doesn't just wear green all the time. It just looks so good whenever they do these green uniforms. Someone in the league should just always be wearing green. It's great. And lastly, I do love the Marines too, especially the All Blacks and especially the Miami Vice ones that Gabe mentioned earlier. But I do not like these gray ones they're doing this season. Very boring. I'm not a fan of gray in a uniform. I like pinstripes. I like light colors. I like color. I like fun. Gray with just a logo does not do it for me. That's the only one I'm critical of. Pretty much everything else this season I love. What about you, Mike?
So when it comes to the summer uniforms, I do like Lotte's Miami Vice one that they're currently doing. My favorite in the time I've been watching NPB is the 2018 Chiba Lotte summer uniforms, where I tuned in one day to see Mike Bolsinger pitch for the Marines. He had an amazing 2018. Look it up on PLTV. And he's wearing what looks to be a Hawaiian shirt.
Ooh.
With the flowers being the birds, and there were some palm leaves on there, and it was the 2018 Marines Festival summer jersey, and it was great.
I have a shirt that just looks like that. Like that's just how I dress.
I think it was a great jersey. I'm still trying to get a not the giveaway one, but the actual replica they sold in the store because it was such a good jersey. It was such a good jersey.
Yeah, it's clean. Well, thanks for listening. As always, tune in next week for more fun, and we'll see you out there. Take care.
Goodbye.
Be sure to like and subscribe for more English content. Sign up with Pacific League TV for live game broadcasts, including interleague and farm teams. For viewers in the US or Canada, watch PL games with English commentary on FTF Sports, Tuesday through Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern, or without commentary on WatchDingo.com simulcasts under the Baseball Network.